stories we choose, some stories choose us. A diagnosis, an injury, a breakup, a life detour. Suddenly the plot flips, and the world tries to hand us a smaller script. Be careful, be quiet, be less. But identity isn't a costume you wear, it's a truth that you practice. Hey everyone, welcome back to another powerful episode of Healthy Mind, Healthy Life. And today we are talking about reclamation, how to rewrite your narrative after chronic illness, disability, injury, or any seismic life change without losing the most important thing that you have, your authentic self. Yeah, and my guest today is Joshua Dvorkin. So, welcome to the show, Joshua.
Thanks, Avik. I'm so happy to be here today joining you on your
Amazing.
podcast.
Lovely, lovely, Joshua. I'm really happy that you joined today. And before we delve deep into the discussion, I would quickly love to introduce you to all the listeners. Dear listeners, Joshua is a psychotherapist, reclamation coach, and the founder of Headway Mental Health. His work is grounded, trauma informed, and powered by lived experience. So, at 29, a traumatic spinal cord injury left him paralyzed from the chest down. So, he was told a long list of nervous. So, he replied with, "Watch me." From ICU to independence, from prognosis to purpose, and Joshua now helps professionals and the leaders reclaim authorship and rebuild identity with radical compassion and zero romanticized fluff. So I'll not take much of your time, dear listeners. Let's get into the discussion. And Joshua, welcome, welcome. Let's have the discussion. It's very important. Yeah.
Yeah, well, as you mentioned, like when I was 29 years old, I guess like
Yeah.
50, so it seems like forever ago now. But yeah, I had an epileptic seizure. I fell off my balcony. I landed on my head, broke my neck, and I remember waking up and the doctor told me that I would never walk again. I would never breathe on my own again. And most likely I would never be able to live on my own again. And I told him at that point to me that was well, I was pointing out on a letterboard because I couldn't actually talk. So,
Okay.
I pointed out the letters and I was like, not acceptable.
Hmm.
Um, well, not in so many words. That wasn't very nice, but I told him 10 days from that day that I would be speaking on my own, and 10 days from that day, I was off the ventilator. This is actually about 2 months later, but I was off the ventilator. I was speaking on my own again, and, I guess it was about a year later, I moved into my own apartment. I was living on my own again, and now I have the 3 post-secondary degrees, and I really learned on how powerful the mind actually is. And um, I mean, when it comes down to it, all it really is a decision, and a series of steps that you have to take yourself or somebody else through in order so that they can really understand that there are opportunities and possibilities that exist, even though it might not be exactly what you had in mind to begin with, right? But
Exactly. Hmm.
let's
So,
see. Go ahead.
yeah. Yeah, please, please. You say. You were saying something.
Yeah, I think, it starts the main thing it's with, you know, acknowledging the reality of the situation, right? So
Mm,
um I think a lot of people have a problem, when they approach something that is out of the ordinary for them, they don't want to see
mm,
it, right? So
right.
um which until that happens, it's really hard for us to take accountability for what's happened or, understand that, there's a new truth or a new narrative that's kind of
Yeah.
been handed to us and we need to adapt our way of thinking or um, our belief system to accomplish something different.
Mm, I agree. I totally agree. Yeah. And so, uh, like, if someone listening feels unrecognizable to themselves, what's the one immediate practice to reconnect with more truthful definition of me? So, what do you say?
Um, I would say that, really sit down and look at um your values, right? Like what did you value beforehand? And what do you still value now? Like what
Yeah.
are the similarities between the person
Mhm.
that you were and the person that you still are, or the options that you still have, right? Because
Yeah.
I believe that so beforehand, I loved talking to people and I loved being
Mm,
creative. Um, so I looked at these same values that I had, um, and I was like, well, what opportunities still exist kind of within that same sphere or something that I could do where I would still be,
mm,
talking to people or helping people, or how could I turn my story of to me what was despair at the time into
yeah.
how could I birth that into something that would be, um, validating to both myself and to others? Um, so, I just think it's important to not feel hopeless and not to lose hope. Um, because I think that what we believe for ourselves,
Mm,
which is one of the frameworks they use. It's called the belief framework. What we believe for ourselves is actually our truth, right? So I
yeah.
mean, if you believe that you know um, you're not worthy of good things, you're most likely not going to make a decision. You're going to attract the wrong type of people, um,
Mm,
and things are going to be harder for you to achieve. Is where, if you believe that, even though something bad happened to you, but
mm,
you're still deserving of good things. Maybe, that bad thing that happened maybe played some part in it, but it's still not your fault. I mean, you're not deserving of bad things. Um,
mm,
and good things are still gonna come to you, then I believe those good things are gonna be easier to come by. Um,
mm,
and I think because um, you know, so take cognitive behavioral therapy, just looking at the way people think, for example. So
mm,
Um, for every situation that happens, we have thoughts about that situations, which, make us have specific emotions, right? So every situation we have elicits a thought, elicits feelings, and based upon those thoughts and feelings, we respond in certain ways. And then, based upon our behaviors, we have results or outcomes, right? So, um, thank God being human beings, we have the ability to think about what we think about, right? And then we can kind of course correct as we go along. So, um, which is one of the things I'm always thankful for because I'm always trying to um,
yeah.
notice what I'm thinking and see how that's affecting the opportunities and possibilities that I perceive, right? So,
Exactly. So, so we move from titles and timelines to truths and tendencies, like from
that
what I do to what I stand for.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. So, I mean, you talk about reclamation, right? So, reclamation coaching. So, beyond coping, beyond bouncing back, so what are its key moves that make it different from standard be resilient advice?
Right. So I think the main thing, is it is recognizing your pain, right? So I talk about something that is called, it's one of my keynote systems. So it's resilience without romanticism. So,
Yeah.
it's rebuilding your life with grounded resilience, honoring your reality while embracing new opportunities with clarity and confidence, right? It's navigating your illness and transition with authentic strength and finding possibility without toxic positivity or pressure to just bounce back. It's like it's okay to feel not okay. You don't necessarily have to bounce back in a specific time frame. It's all about providing room for yourself, for that growth to happen, right? So
Yeah.
it's really not, um, you know, um, setting out kind of a forced um, sense of values. So you basically want to, you know, face your problem. You want to honor your current circumstances without bypassing or minimizing your experience. You want to find ground, stabilizing your body, mind, and emotions to create a sense of safety and readiness. You want to rewrite it by reclaiming your voice and reframing your story with compassion and truth because I find more than not, people are much more compassionate with other people than they are with themselves, right? So, you know, more than not, people have that inner voice that's always, you know, correcting what they're doing, or, it's kind of like that voice that's our own worst enemy. Um, when you want to live true, making decisions and setting boundaries that align with your authentic self. So that's why I was talking before about kind of looking at your values that that remain even though your situation's changed, right? And then last but not least, I think you want to grow forward, stepping into opportunities and cultivating confidence for the next chapter, right? So um, it's kind of almost like the same or a similar experience to grieving, right? Where you have to take the time to definitely um, see what you've lost, but then rise to the occasion and almost become excited that you have a second opportunity at maybe fostering something different, right? And um, maybe even looking at it that now is your opportunity to be where you're supposed to be, you know?
Exactly.
Um,
Mhm, mhm.
true.
So, if you can share a micro tool, like something a listener can try today to challenge a limiting belief without gaslighting their pain. So, what do you have to say?
Yeah, how can you challenge a limiting belief that you have today? Um, so I would sit down and okay, so I would if you want to just Google this online, you can Google 7 column thought record, and it's a really great way to look at what you're thinking and rebalance or balance any negative thought that you might be having. So, um, you're gonna look at your situation. So maybe your situation now is that you really hurt your back
Um,
and you're not able to do the same things that you used to do before. Maybe you have trouble,
s-
lifting up your kid or playing with your children, and maybe that's was very important to you before. Um, so then you're gonna write down your negative thought. So it's usually the first thing that pops into your head, and probably the worst thing that could possibly happen. So in your mind, so I'm not going to be able to play with my kids anymore. How am I going to have a positive impact on their lives, right? So um, then you want to write down all the ways that this makes you feel, right? So maybe it makes you feel anxious, makes you feel sad, makes you feel angry. Um, so you want to make a list of all these emotions and then rate them out of 100, right? And then, so the next thing you want to write down would be evidence that supports your negative thoughts. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, for sure, you've hurt your back. Maybe you can't do the same things. Definitely, it's just, it's a fact of life, right? But, um, you can't unfortunately change that, but if you go to the next column and we're writing down things that go against, it's kind of like, well, what else can we do? It's like just because we might not be able to physically interact with our children, we can still set a good example for our children. We could still model really good behavior, and teach them the really important things that matter in life, right? Which, we could still hug our children, we could still show them love and understanding. Um, so, then, we come to a new balanced thought. Well, maybe it's okay that, we can't um, handle or pick up our kids the same way that we could before, because we really can still have a lasting effect on how our children see both us and the world. And maybe the fact even that we are different now than we were before will allow our children to have a new understanding of people in general, which could be a positive experience for them, right? Maybe they now understand that, it's a good thing to give people with differences an inclusive space in society, and maybe that they are just as, as capable as other people. So, there's a twofold positive thing happening here, right? So, uh, then we want to go back and we want to re-rate our emotions. So, maybe now our sadness has reduced, our anxiety is reduced, and maybe now we're feeling some new feelings as well. Maybe we're feeling some feelings of joy, because we've noticed that we were really having not only are we able to have a positive impact on our children's life, but we are able to shift the way that they perceive the world, um, which has so much value for not only for us, but for them and for other people as well. And, maybe they'll be able to change the way other people see things because of that. So it's a pretty valuable exercise on how you can just frame any negative thought in general. So
Exactly. And so, like many high achievers wrestle with needing help after being fiercely independent. So, how do you help clients accept support without feeling like they are betrayed themselves?
yeah, sure. So um I think for me that was one of the biggest things I wrestled with. I never really realized how much of I never thought I was a control freak at all. But now it's like I rely on people to get me up in the morning. I need help getting dressed, and, getting up instead of taking half an hour, it takes me like 2.5 hours. And so it eats big chunks of my day, um, which, um, if somebody doesn't show up, that means that I can't show up for the people that I need to show up for, so it can definitely create a lot of stress. But what I explain to people is that, you know, you show up for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So, why not let somebody show up? I mean, it definitely is humbling in the sense that, it makes us understand that it's okay not to be able to do everything. Um, but I think it takes some practice. I think that's the biggest thing that takes the most practice, at least for me it was. Um, so that takes time. I think it takes, um, I think it's something, especially for like entrepreneurs and professionals who like to, I think they judge themselves by the amount of control they have over things and how perfect everything that they really achieve or create is, and I think they're very, competitive with themselves. Um, but yeah, I mean, we work through that over time, right? So I mean, once you start creating new things and understanding how you fit in with your new opportunities and possibilities and realize that you can still create good in the world with um while um relying on people, it just kind of happens to unfold naturally, and I believe it becomes part of who you are over time. It's like one of those, I guess, a similar situation might be, you lose somebody close to you, right? And it's like it never really goes away but with time it becomes easier, right? So um it's never an easy thing to lose any part of yourself, right? Especially, but I think, with the loss of certain parts, we also gain certain parts. If that makes sense, or we realize, maybe something about ourselves that we didn't realize or understand before, which maybe could be part of our new superpower, right? Um, so
Got it. Okay, that's really amazing. And I would say, Joshua, thank you so much for the map and the honesty. Um, for everyone who is listening, your story is not just over, it's under revision. This week, try a reclamation minute each morning. Like, name one feeling, name one value you refuse to surrender, and choose one micro action aligned with that value. Do it for 7 days and watch your inner narrative change the tone. So, if you are navigating lines uh, like illness, disability, injury, or a major life transition, or you lead people who are connect with uh, Joshua and Headway Mental Health for grounded, trauma informed support. And if this episode helped, share it with the person who needs permission to keep writing. And Joshua, if someone wants to connect with you, what would be the great medium to connect?
yeah, I mean, if you actually want to go follow me on Instagram at headway.mental.health, and then if you want to DM me 7 day, all one word, all capitals, you'll get a document. It teaches you how to overcome negative thinking in 7 days.
Yeah.
It's kind of a nice little useful tool. That way I get your email address. If you want to reach me by email, you can also reach me at joshua@headwaymentalhealth.com. Um, and I'd be happy to connect with anybody, answer any questions. Um,
Lovely.
yeah.
Lovely. Really lovely. And dear listeners, what I'll do is I'll put all the links into the show notes for your easier friends. And with this hope, until next time, be happy, be healthy, and take care of yourself. So, thank you so much.
Thanks, Avik. I really appreciate the